For the informal consultation held in 2021, we prepared an onshore cable route flyover video which explained the process we have adopted to identify the best alignment for the Rampion 2 cable route. We also outlined 3 onshore substation search areas and some of the environmental and technical considerations which helped inform this thinking. Based on feedback received through the informal consultation, further design development and ongoing environmental survey, this video has been updated to reflect our refined proposals. Refinements to the onshore cable route and substation search areas have been made following a robust process to compare the proposed options, including constraints mapping and workshops which considered the latest available information and feedback from stakeholders. The main areas where refinements to the route alignment have been made are highlighted on the map and will be explained further in this video. Also, one of the 3 substation options has now been discounted. Starting at the proposed landfall site, environmental sensitivities include a site of special scientific interest, or SSI, known as Climping Beach. This designation is overlapped by West Beach Local Nature Reserve and bordered by Littlehampton Golf Course and Atherington Beach Local Wildlife Site. These sites support a range of habitats, including sand flats, tideline, shingle and sand dunes. The Climping Beach SSI also supports a population of small wading birds called sanderlings and is frequented by other water birds including dark-bellied Brent geese, widgeon, Mediterranean gull and lapwing. To avoid disturbance to these sensitivities, the cable would be installed using a technique called horizontal directional drilling, or HDD. We would drill underneath the beach from south of the low tide area through to agricultural land north of the beach to minimize disturbance to people and the environment. We are also aware that flooding is a particular issue along this section of coastline, and this is something we are carefully considering as part of our flood risk assessment for the project. To keep trains running and reduce impacts on the river environment, we are proposing another drilled section just north of Climping to take the cables underneath the River Arun and the railway line. In this location, our route avoids being too close to residential properties and disturbing potentially contaminated land at former landfill sites. The next location we're looking at is near the village of Warning Camp. Here, we previously identified 4 possible routes as we sought to avoid environmental sensitivities and technical construction challenges. Following further analysis, we have removed the 2 more westerly options to avoid a local wildlife site to the west, nearby ancient woodland, a scheduled monument called a ringwork, which is a form of fortified defensive structure, and potential issues with crossing the proposed A27 Arundel Bypass construction area. We are now consulting on the 2 remaining options to further inform technical work and determine the best option with the least impacts, including archaeological studies and minimizing temporary construction impacts to the local community. A further refinement in our proposals is the removal of one of the route options north of Warning Camp, near Norfolk Clump. The more eastern option remains, as this has fewer impacts on archaeological features and groundwater sources and also avoids construction activities on the brow of a hill. Further north, we come to the village of Washington. The first route we considered crossed through ancient woodland and along a very steep slope, which presented too much of a technical construction challenge, so we needed to consider an alternative route. The search area around Washington is very constrained with environmental sensitivities, such as several patches of ancient woodland, local wildlife sites, and Chanctonbury Hill SSI. There are also added complexities here with road crossings and nearby properties. Through further investigation, an overall lower impact route was identified, but this still required crossing the Sullington Hill local wildlife site, which is designated for chalk grassland and woodland. Stakeholder feedback received during the informal consultation process identified a clear preference to HDD underneath this area to reduce impacts on this sensitive habitat. In response, we have agreed to drill below Sullington Hill. We are now also proposing to use this HDD technique underneath the recreation ground in Washington to minimise impacts upon the local community. Just to the north of Washington is a protected geological site and an adjacent active landfill site called Windmill Quarry. Our original routing through the area crossed this quarry. In order to avoid this, we identified two alternative route options. Following further assessment, this has been refined to form a single proposed route, which reduces potential impacts to nearby roads, properties, and ancient woodland. Further north, as we approach the grid connection point, we initially identified 7 potential search areas for a new substation within 5 kilometres of Bolney. Following further investigation, 4 of these were discounted as they were considered too small and had environmental sensitivities either on or bordering the sites. Feedback from the informal consultation then led us to discount the Wynham Lane South option.
Hello, I'm Vaughan Wayhill, the project manager for Rampion 2. We listened to feedback from the informal consultation and discounted the Wynham Lane South substation site option. This was due to concerns raised by local residents about proximity to homes, the Royal Oak Public House, and other land use proposals at this site. At this stage, we're still considering 2 substation site options, Wynham Lane North and the Bolney Road and Kent Street site. Only one of these will be taken forward ultimately, however. We are continuing our detailed assessment work and discussions on options with landowners, and any feedback we receive about these 2 site options during this formal consultation will be taken into account as part of making that final decision on which site we select and move forward with.
We are now consulting on the 2 remaining shortlisted substation search areas at 1. Bolney Road and Kent Street, located near an industrial estate and the A272, with trees and hedgerows offering some natural screening along the site boundary. And 2. Wynham Lane North, which is located to the north of the existing Bolney substation and partially screened by trees. For each of these options, we will further assess engineering and environmental constraints, such as ancient woodland, construction access, and the effects on neighbouring views and nearby properties before determining our preferred option. Having taken on board feedback received during the informal consultation, we are now much closer to having a preferred overall alignment for the cable route and a preferred option for siting the new substation. However, we do still need your input to inform our final proposals and invite you to provide feedback during the formal public consultation.
I'm Larry Wills. I'm the Consents Manager for the Rampion 2 project working for RWE. We've undertaken scoping for the project and we've also undertaken informal consultation. We've been carrying out surveys, environmental and technical, and these have fed into the Preliminary Environmental Information Report, or PEIR. The PEIR details all of the preliminary environmental impacts that we've identified and some early mitigations, and we're asking for your feedback on our proposals. The feedback that you provide, both for onshore and offshore elements of the project, will then feed into the environmental statement and the final application for the project, which we hope to submit to the Secretary of State in early 2022.
For further information about Rampion 2, visit our website at www.rampion2.com. Thank you.